We all have that client that walks into the salon, sits in our chair, and we just look at them and go, oh God, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to show you a technique today that I use a lot of times, not just for when someone comes in with a kitchen beautician nightmare, but also when a client just needs a little bit of a change, wants to go from a color change from a brunette to a redhead, even a blonde to a red, that gives dimensional color applied as a one-process color. So it's great for coloring services, it's great for correction services, and it's great for toning services. And this is something that I do in the salon, usually daily in some aspect, but it's a great quick way to give you a lot of punch or help client get on the right path or the right journey without having to turn a client away, lose that business, but also be true to yourself and to keep your integrity and the hair's integrity and sensitivity in one piece. So, my name is Bruce Crowley. This is my audition tape for the SoHo partnership. I would really love to do this. I've made it no secret that this is something that's definitely one of my goals. I think that the years of doing hair, 28 years, I've learned some things. I have still a lot to learn, but at the same time, I love to share the things that I already know, things that I am also shown. I love passing those on, and I love the energy and the inspiration that I get doing it. It's not just about what it does for me, it's what I can do for others as well. So I think it's a very good symbiotic relationship, and I'm really looking forward to growing and continuing the journey. Hopefully as a partner at the SoHo Academy. If not, I'm continuing the journey with Loreal Professional regardless. So today I want to go over exactly how I do this technique, how I section it out. And like I said, it can be used in anything. So I can use this with a Noah when I'm doing someone who has a lot of gray. And I want to make sure that it still looks dimensional, even more dimensional than the color provides for me. It's also great when I'm using a Noah. I can use 10 volume in some sections to give myself just a little bit of a toning, and I can use 20 or 30 to give myself a little bit more punch in other areas, all by using the same sectioning. Now granted, I'm going to switch it up depending if they have a middle part, side part, or no part, or they're a flipper. They like to do their part on either side. I have to put all that in consideration. But most importantly, when a client steps into my chair and I really don't have the time, especially if they're a first-time client, to do what they're asking, they're still looking for help. They're looking to feel better. And I want to make sure as a hairdresser and as a person that I can do that for them. So I've developed this technique to at least get them started and get them into a happy place, even if it's not the place that they want to be. Now Erica came in wanting to look like this. Well, this requires a more natural base and full balayage. This is not that. So what I'm doing today is I'm just going to soften everything down so she can leave the house, go to her job, be around her girlfriends, and feel good about herself. I've already told her that she needs to come back this time, this time, and this time, and this is what we're going to do at each step to get her to her goal. She's willing to do the journey with me, and I'm willing to start the journey with her. Now the important thing when you're doing a consultation, and I like to really stress this point, don't lie to the client. Be perfectly honest. If nothing can be done, nothing can be done. I think ultimately the client's going to respect you for that, but I believe with the Loreal products that we're provided for, there's always a little something that we can do to at least get them off the ledge and back in their seat and a little more comfortable. So, today I'm going to be using the Dia products. I'm going to use Dia Richesse because of the fact that I do want to get some tonal difference. I need to make sure the cuticle is not jeopardized or sensitized any more than it already is, but I want to make sure that I can get the coverage that I need. So I'm going to be using two different formulas and then my sectioning. So how I section this out is I start out with a 1-inch band all around the hairline. So I have sections that look like this. Then I take 1 inch on either side of her part and I incorporate just below the swirl in the back of the part as another section. In the back, I break it down into anything below the occipital bone, and then I just split my two sections for easy application. So what I want to do is anything that's below the occipital bone, I'm going to use my darker formula on from roots to ends. So this has a base, something for it to bounce off of the other colors. From the section that goes from behind her, the 1-inch part, all the way across the back, leaving out this section here, I'm going to do mostly my dark with periodical vertical sections of the lighter color. On my T-section, which I call the part section and the hairline section, I'm going to be doing my lighter formula from roots to ends. This is going to give her a one-process application that is multi-dimensional. Now, the formula I'm using today is on the lighter section. I'm using the 913 with clear, equal volume, equal parts, because I want something a little bit lighter, and I just want to really basically work it as a toner. And I'm only using 9 volume. On the darker sections, I'm using the 713 with the 9 volume as well, because I'm just looking for a lot of deposit, and I also want to have some control over it. But I want to make sure there's a definite definition between the dark and the light, so that way I can start building that base for lighter colors to bounce off of. So it's really quite simple. I always start with the application in the area where I have to have the most amount of work. And you have to apply kind of quickly. You can't dilly-dally doing this, because remember, our Dia Richette's only process for 20 minutes, so you want to try to get the head together as quickly as possible. So I'm going to start below the occipital, I'm going to apply my darker color, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to start applying the 2 panels on either side. I'm going to take vertical sections as I go through all of it, and I'm going to use the right tool for that. So I'm going to use a comb that has the cutout designed to basically make really neat sections with. So that way my work is nice and clean, because if my work is nice and clean, then the results are going to be nice and clean. So I'm going to take each section about 1 inch wide, and I'm going to saturate the section from roots to ends. So that way I get nice even coverage. Now remember, we're just doing toning. The beauty about the Dia color is I can go down levels and I can go up levels, and I can go tonal shifts, which is a great reason for using all this color. But it's also really nice because it really helps to seal the cuticle down as well, so I'm going to get a nice polished finish when I'm doing that. So now I'm going to do my application, and then we will show you how it looks when it's all applied. So I'm at my final section right now, and if you had noticed during some of my application processes that a couple of tricks that I went through, I always made sure to outline each section as I went to it. I know it's a little old school, but when you're working quickly, it helps to keep your mind on focus and what you need to do. It's just one of those little tricks. It takes 2 extra seconds, but it just ensures a neater, cleaner application. I'm also utilizing sweep meshes to kind of keep lighter hair off of darker hair. The hair is so sensitized. It's a nice little way to keep a buffer between the 2 colors. So, and I also have chosen to use different size brushes, because I kind of, on the premise that you kind of use the brush that covers the real estate that you need to cover. So when I'm working with smaller sections, I use smaller brushes because everything else is kind of overkill. And I kind of try to always work a little bit away from the client's face, just to ensure that no accidents happen and nothing goes badly for them. The other thing is I make sure that always the application is nice and neat and keeping it off the client's skin, keeping it away from their face. Even when they're sitting, I want to make sure that they feeling comfortable and not feel like they can't move or anything. All of these things are little details, but I think these details separate you from everyone else, and I think it makes your work look and present itself much neater than it would be. So the other thing I do, because I want to make sure that it gets nice coverage, is when I'm dealing with the bottom 2/3 from your midshaft to your ends, I kind of apply it in a crisscrossing way, and then I use my fingers to kind of scissor it through. So that way I get a nice clean saturation throughout. It also keeps my sections nice and neat, and it makes everything work much better. It's little details like that help you to work a little bit smarter, not harder, and I think that's really important to do when you're working with clients and when you're trying to get your point across and also be able to share things. I think if you have a little system that you work for and you do it consistently, it shows itself consistently, and I think it shows, you know, that you take a little pride in what you're doing. And clients notice that. Trust me, they notice when you do something different to them. As much as you don't think they're paying attention, oh, they are so paying attention. So I think it's a good idea to kind of have little details like that as part of your repertoire, and it keeps everything nice and even and consistent. So now we're going to let her process. But it's Dia Richette, so about 20 minutes. I'm going to check it in 10, see how it's doing, make sure it's not grabbing too quickly. But I'm not going to use heat. I'm just going to let her sit on her own and process all the way. So while she's processing, the Ericas have some questions. So we're going to go through their questions and see what they have to say. So, smooth and sexy, Erica. What is the best at-home treatment for her? It's an excellent question, Erica. Thank you. Crystal Sudic is going to be her best bet. We need something that she can have in the salon treatment to kind of start getting that color locked in, helping that cuticle recover. And I think having an at-home program with the Crystal Sudic, being able to use it each week in between her visits with me, is going to really help to strengthen her hair and make it more acceptable to color each time that she comes in and get her to her goal faster. So then we have Miss Rockabilly, Erica. What application would this be great for? Oh, what other application would this be great for? Well, that's an excellent question. I can use this, as I mentioned before. This technique can be used doing a tone-on-tone color for someone who wants to dip their toes into color using demi-permanent. It can also be used when I use my Anoa colors because of the fact that sometimes they have super gray hair around their hairline and the rest of their hair doesn't qualify to use the Anoa. So I'll use this technique to do the really stubborn gray around her hair using Anoa Supreme, and then use the regular Anoa in a complementing formula on the rest of her hair. And it's a great way. I've also used this using Anoa on her base and then alternating brushes on her ends, just to give me whatever I need to help get the color the best. And the great thing about it is, it's quick, it's easy, so you can just use it like your regular color appointment. You don't need all that extra time. So, now we have little 80s Erica. She's got some hair, huh? How often will she have to color her hair? Well, that's during the consultation. We want to determine that before we start. This client's opportunities, future point, is just to get her hair colored about 3 times a year. So we're going to work to her getting a more natural base with balayage highlights on top of it. That way she can come and go as she needs to do it and not on a set schedule. Because she also has some financial issues, so we don't want to have to kill her being in the salon every single month. And these are things we have to be respectful of when we are a hairdresser. And finally, we have braided Erica. And can this technique be done with any color? Like I mentioned before, I use this on reds, brunettes, blondes. It can be used on anything. I've also used this with some of the fashion colors. I've done this with blondes and done some of the sections in it with violets. I've done it with blues, greens, mermaid colors. So I've done the base a little bit darker, and then I've lightened it up on the ends. I've used 2 different formulas when I do my vertical application. This is a great base application that can be expanded to be used to more designer colors as well. So thank you all very much for your questions. And right now I'm going to go and shampoo her, and we'll show you the final results. So as you can tell, once I've blown her all out, just by doing the simple application that I showed you earlier, I'm able to create dimension in her hair without having to do balayage, without having to use foils. I'm just using a one-process application. I'm also able to create some of that depth underneath to start so that when she wants to progress into the next stage, which is doing full balayage on her head, so that she doesn't have to come in as often, but give her that blonde and brightness that she's looking for, I've started creating some of that darkness underneath. This was all done with demi-permanent color. She is understanding that she'll have to come back in about 6 weeks, and we'll have to redo all of this again to keep supporting the color. But next time I'll be able to do a few face framing pieces because her hair now will have recovered since she started using the Crystal Sudic at home. I think this is a real client. Should be really pleased with the results. I'm happy with it. Like everything else, it does need work, and she understands that, and I understand that. But I think for a first-time visit and someone who has really kind of jacked their hair up, this is a nice way to help transition them into a journey of healthy, shiny, beautiful hair. I also want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I understand there are starts and stops in it. I know I have to work on my video skills, and I'm going to work on that. But I believe when you're on stage also, there are starts and stops also while you're collecting your thoughts and being able to give the information to the people in the right and proper way. So on behalf of myself, Bruce Crowley, and Erica, I thank you for taking the time to do this, and I look forward to working with you on any level that I can. Have a great day.